You've been driving for a while and you feel like you've hit a plateau and you're just not improving anymore. You've upgraded your hardware, but you're still not able to be as fast as you would like. Well, guess what? I did that too, okay? I'm as guilty as you are. And that's exactly why Racine and myself created what we call the advanced way to learn. By using the techniques that we're about to show you, we were able to win national championships, and we're now coaching real-life drivers and sim racers all across the globe. So let me tell you why you absolutely need this to improve your racing skills. On this platform, you'll go through 5 learning steps. The first one is going to be to watch video lessons so you can take in all that theory. The second step will be to answer quizzes. We've created some questions to test your knowledge. Next, you'll have to partake in challenges. Here, you'll have to prove to yourself that you can apply what you've learned. You'll go on track and you'll try to beat the instructor's lap times or sector times. Following the challenge, you'll be able to send your onboard replay so instructors and other community members can help you improve. And lastly, you can get involved in the community to meet some new teammates and learn from others. This platform is a back and forth discussion between us, the instructor, and you, the students. If you're serious about becoming the best driver out there, this is the advanced way to learn.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Precision Racing League Wednesday nights are back in action, but things look a little different from what you've seen the past few years. The Grand National Series and the Truck Series have re-merged into one series, the PRL Truck Fixed Series, putting all the stars of PRL Wednesday nights back on track, racing together yet again. The field has been split into Pro and Am categories, meaning there will be 2 wins to fight for every week, and it's the last season of 2024, so there will be 2 playoff championships to fight for as well. So much to play for this season, and RaceSpotTV welcomes you to the opening round of 2024 Season 4 for the PRL Truck Fixed Series, live from the virtual Kansas Speedway. My name is Joey Tebben. Joining me in the booth this season is Mr. Derek Watson, and behind the scenes making it all happen is Mr. Hugo Luis. But Derek, we are back, It's the last season of the year, playoffs, regular seasons, new models, everything's new. How can we even begin to process what we're about to see here at Kansas?
Oh my gosh, Joey, it's going to be quite the season. A big, full field, 40-plus trucks. A crazy schedule, by the way. If we can see the schedule here, look at this. You got a mile and a half at Kansas. You got a super speedway. You got short tracks at Iowa. You got Homestead at 2 miles. Phoenix, and we're going to finish off at Kentucky and Auto Club as the legacy tracks. This is going to be quite the interesting, some might say, eclectic schedule here on the ballot.
Eclectic as the end of the NASCAR touring schedules are in the real-life equivalent to this series. And it does end, as Derek mentions, in what has sort of become a PRL tradition recently. There's a couple of weeks after the NASCAR season ends in the real world, and it seems like we always end up having a championship decider at Auto Club Speedway. I am very excited to see how that ends up going, and there will be multiple championships to decide. As I mentioned, there will be 4 different champions to crown. There will be 2 Season 4 champions in both the Pro Division and the AM Division in this series. There will also be 2 playoff champions, and those are connected to the entire year, Derek. These are statistics from the first 3 seasons of this year that seeded these drivers, and they'll fight for playoff championships as well.
Yeah, so you see the graphics on both sides. As you said, the Pro Division was what used to be the Grand National. It's Bradley Holly, Richard Regan, Abner Acosta, and others. On the right side, your AM Division. That was your former Truck Series drivers. Patrick Cowgill, Zach Panzarella, both individual season winners here. Brett Adams, of course, season winner. And then Andrew Sharp and others. So you got really 5 titles, Joey. You got the season-long points, Pro and AM. You got Season 4 points, Pro and AM, and there's a coveted team points title. And I think that's going to be crazy to follow with this full 40-car field. I'm excited to see how this plays out. A lot of new changes, a lot of question marks, maybe a little bit of skepticism from some of the drivers. But right now, there's no place like home here in the PRL.
Absolutely not, and there's a long way to go until we crown all those 5 champions, but all the way there, Precision Racing League action on RaceSpotTV will be brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and also get a 5% discount, also using the Precision 5 coupon code. The Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat with the Butt Kicker. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. All right, qualifying currently underway, Derek, for the opening round of the season. Richard Regan Jr., I believe, finishing a run now. 30.502 puts him on pole for the moment. And if I'm not mistaken, practice is actually coming to an end. We still got about a minute 30. No, it is still qualifying. What a way to start the season. Doyle Lawrence on the clock right now, seeing what he can do to knock Richard Regan Jr. off the top of the board.
Yeah, and this track has a very couple defined ways to qualify here. You really got to be careful with those inputs. You can't scrub speed here. This is a momentum-based track, Joey. As you see Doyle Lawrence using that bottom part of that track down there, that apron, to get more speed off the truck, and he'll be a 36.51. So you'll see where that's going to put him up on the board. Here's Bradley Holly. We saw him in that points title here, part of that 184. That beautiful purple. Look at that, Joey. And I bet if we see his webcam, his room will also be purple because he matches his truck scheme. Well, I guess he matches the lights in his room to the truck scheme. Probably the way it works, probably not the other way around.
Living inside the truck in both the virtual world and the real world. There it is. There's the view from Bradley Holly's headset of sorts. Looks like he's doing pretty well. Up about 0.4 on his delta there. Crosses the line, though, and it's not quite good enough for pole. It's very close, but it's P2 for Bradley Holly. 3,000ths off Richard Regan Jr. He'll start in the front row, but that's going to hurt a little bit, Derek. That's a blink, 0.003 of a second separates the top two.
Yeah, it's great to see for those kind of results and what can happen here. We'll see who starts where, but I think it's time to review. Well, there's Richard Regan. Man, that looks comfortable. I always like how Richard's stuff looks. And that beautiful green screen of sponsors. Kids, if you want to learn how to promote and how to advertise yourself, Richard Regan, that's top-notch self-promotion right there.
He is a company man through and through, and he'll start from pole yet again, his 18th pole in a truck in the PRL, starting alongside Bradley Holly. These two arch rivals continuing to go at it in yet another PRL season. Jeff Ward, one of the newer names from last season, starts P3 alongside Daniel Knight. It's all Evans on row number 3. Jeff Evans starts alongside his dad Doug on row number 3. Thomas Sink is P7 alongside James Morgan, and then we start to see the AM drivers. Zach Panzarella with that purple rear spoiler, and Andrew Sharp in the AM category as well. They'll be highlighted purple on the pylon as well, and you'll see them fight for the AM championship this season while also fighting for positions with the pro drivers on track. Tyler Graff in the MadWorks Graphics number 97 starts P11, and Dr. Beaver, Philip Beaver, starts P12.
Moving back into P13, Mark Kalin, part of a new team this season, Joey, with Bluegrass Motorsports. With Jeff Evans, he's in P13. You got Abner Acosta back there in P14, representing private label Team Hype. Brett Adams, your last season's Truck Series champion, P15, with Nicholas Schwartz, P16, part of Whataback TNT. Mike Richter in 17th, and then Marty Calvert with Philmar Racing in P18.
Dustin Bumgarner.
Dustin Bumgarner with Jamie Graham in P20. Zachary Burnt in P21, part of Regan Bogue Motorsports this season with Baron Hilton, P22. Jacob Dunn, part of Top Rossi Esports in the 23rd. And Patrick Calgill in 24th. There's my break, Joey. Sorry about that.
The stat man himself, Dalton Geyer, P25 to kick off his season. He'll round out row number 13 with Colton Lane, Doyle Lawrence, Brendan Chatley down to P28, and Mike Toomer and Kyle Dewey, a pair of AM drivers, round out the top 30. Austin Hunter, the most experienced driver in a truck in the PRL. He's got more starts in this machinery than anybody. He'll be looking forward from 31st alongside Dylan Schmidt. The unrelated Stacy Hunter starts alongside him, or starts behind him rather, and Ted Lowendick. Got a lot of experience in an Xfinity car over the last couple seasons. He takes on a truck for the first time now. Tom Macy, and Alex Hillman round out the top 36. Only a couple more hits at the back of the field. Mike Knight was not allowed to qualify, if I'm not mistaken. He'll start from the back of the field. And Nicholas Hunter, related to Austin, will start from 38th on the grid, Derek. It's a big field. We've only got about half a lap to warm up these tires. And a 60-minute race, longer than we're used to in this series. An average of 2 cautions per race. The temperature's going down under the lights. We're all ready to go here, Derek, at Kansas.
I'm stoked to see how this is going to work, Joey. A lot of new things, more drivers, bigger field, new time limit, a couple new smaller rules maybe we'll touch on as the race goes on. So excited to see how this works and how this bottom lane can handle this restart.
And 38 trucks seems like a big field. That is because this is the biggest field the PRL has ever assembled at Kansas. 38 trucks, led by Richard Regan Jr., prepare to do battle over the next hour. And it is the start of the playoffs for the PRL Truck Series. Richard Regan Jr. off to the start with Bradley Holly to his outside. The momentum builds, the speeds rise, and Holly on the top with Daniel Knight behind him tries to stick in touch with Richard Regan Jr. The 89 of Jeff Ward, though, it's a shorter run on the bottom line. He's in the draft of the leader. Holly's still running on the top. Down the back stretch for the first time. Ward in second is going to try and clear Holly into turn 3.
Look at that push that Ward gave right there to Richard Regan. That was massive. Drafting's not a word you and I are going to use a lot today because it doesn't apply at Kansas as much as it will next week at Dega. But that push right there was great. That helped clear up both of them and put them up to the lead here as we finish lap 1.
Track position's important here. Look at Jeff Evans in the 51, moving up to try and find some clean air around the back of his teammate Bradley Holly. Nothing's going to be doing there. Jeff Ward up into second, side by side with Daniel Knight now for second. Into turn 3, Ward on the bottom, Knight on the outside. He's got momentum, he's built it up, and off the corner in turn 4, Knight in the draft of Regan. Daniel Knight might be up 2 spots in 2 laps.
Look at that camera shot, Joey. Look at that herd of trucks. It's just like a massive gathering of trucks you saw. You mentioned how this is our biggest field, and you can see it from those up top chopper cam views of just how many trucks there are in this pack. You put a blanket down and catch so many here at once. But here we're in turn number 3, still side by side throughout the field at different points here. And these drivers at the top of the track probably feel better. It's easier to handle that car. Hold on, we're 3-1.
3 wide early on, not always the smartest choice. Nicholas Schwartz in P16 is able to hold that off, but things are getting crazy. Everybody wants to move forward, and Abner Acosta, who you see at the head of your screen in P15, starting much deeper than he's used to, Derek. He's actually the defending winner at Kansas. It wasn't a Grand National car. It wasn't in the truck. It's been a couple seasons since he's raced this truck, but Abner Acosta is not used to starting this deep in the field, and he's just trying to make sure he can get through these guys and survive.
Yeah, and right now, with the way the tires work at Kansas, you really want to get through here as fast as possible before that inevitable tire drop-off happens, before those speeds slow down. It becomes harder to hold a line. So you want to get in here and make things happen fast. That's why you saw that 3 car push that 3 wide middle and want to make something happen. If you're patient here and you just sort of sit back and wait, you're going to burn some tires off and have no moves left.
35 Dustin Bumgarner gets by Mike Richter as we ride on board with Patrick Cowgill, Truck Series champion from a couple seasons ago, currently down in P24 behind his teammate Colton Lane. A little bit of a wall tap. I believe that's Barron Hilton who got into some trouble off of turn 4. Patrick's going to move forward 1 more spot as he rides with his teammate Colton Lane on the bottom.
You know, left side from Patrick, you can see just how that truck is driving. Watch the arms right there, Joey. Watch how the arms are rocking back and forth. That tells you he's maybe having a harder time than he wants getting it through the corner, especially if you're going to enter this corner low right here and not tap the truck in front of you. There's a lot more work as far as an apex is concerned about how you turn that truck. The preferred line is to start high and sort of diamond it down.
And I thought Barron Hilton might be in trouble on the outside after tapping the wall, but he's got the momentum back. You see that 98 with the bear on the side fighting back on the top. Barron Hilton might just get this spot back on his teammate Patrick Cowgill, but we're already starting to see a little bit of a shift, Derek. There's single file running up front, but side by side in the middle of the field here, actually for the last spot in the top 5, Doug Evans and Zach Panzarella going at it. It seems like there is momentum to be had on the top. Panzarella is moving forward on the top. He's moved down to the bottom, and now Doug Evans is going to try and hope there's a little more momentum on the top to make him get this spot back.
Yeah, that top lane will work. It feels like it's going to be really fun to pass up there for a while, but typically the drivers on the bottom of this track will probably save tires longer. So it might be more fun to be up there now and make those passes because you get a lot more momentum off of the corners. But we'll see what it does, that tire wear. My history tells me from being a driver and a commentator, that top lane will eat up some tires here at Kansas Speedway.
Doug Evans seated in the pro division. His son Jeff also fighting with him for the pro championship. Jeff a little bit further back from his dad, riding the bottom, maybe being a little bit more conservative early on in the run as James Morgan's to his outside. Thomas Sink takes a peek to the inside of his teammate Evans. Jeff blocks that off. Tom says, I'm not going to go for it. Jeff looks as comfortable as he ever does. Always looks a little bit tense at the starts of these races, and for the whole of the races for that matter, but he's got every right to. It's the start of a new season, and we've still got 55 minutes to go, and he's almost 2 wide with James Morgan.
Gosh, if you're stuck in this battle right now, if you are Jeff Evans, that's what you're thinking in your head, Joey. Oh my gosh, it's only been 5 minutes. Are you sure? Like, it feels so intense. There's so many more trucks around you. It's probably a little faster because of the draft and the lines we're creating, and bigger fields than we're used to. So I'm like, man, it's only been 5 minutes. Like, so much has happened. Got 55 of those left to go. So here's a pass in the bottom. That's Bradley Holly, by the way. Started up front and is now relegated back to P5 at the moment, Joey. He seems to be having a hard time here getting that truck back up to the top of the field.
And you were right, Derek. It is all purple behind Bradley Holly, so he is going full immersion with that truck. Zach Panzarella, though, fighting for the AM championship, not fighting for the pro championship. So he'll be fighting with Bradley Holly and all the pros for positions on track he won't be fighting for the same championship, whether it's the season championship or the playoff championship, as the drivers who are not highlighted on the pylon, who are not fighting for the AM championship. A little bit of trouble deeper in the field. Philip Beaver, who had a great qualifying runs falling down the order, off the pace down the front stretch. Hilton gets by him. Cowgill gets by him. A little bit of trouble early on for Dr. Phil.
By the way, good news for us, by the way. Philmar Racing this season, Joey, has 2 distinct paint schemes for the first time in a couple seasons.
Beautiful.
Beaver has the blue one, Calvert has the red one, so no more trying to figure it out. But watch this replay right here. Ooh, that's scary. Well, there's a part of the grass that the groundskeeper doesn't need to cut tomorrow.
Philip Beaver cutting the grass down the front stretch, did very well to correct it. Just like I'm sure some braces he's installed. He corrected that to become straight, and it looked beautiful. Well done, but the caution flies for the first time tonight. Looks like it's at the back of the field. Not entirely sure who was involved, but we were expecting cautions coming into tonight, Derek. An average of 2 cautions per race here at Kansas, and it looks like it's struck already. Colton Lane, Mike Richter, Abner Acosta. Was it Lane and Richter coming off turn 2? Yes, it was. Huge hit for Mike Richter.
Wow, the call right there would be not clear from the spotter. He just came up that track and probably had a hard time holding on to it. The tires are starting to fall off. Watch it again here. Richter's on the bottom, Colton Lane in the middle, and Richter just keeps coming up. And, you know, that's just unfortunate for him that happened. And that'll be a lot of damage to that truck. And, of course, some for Colton Lane as well. Well, caution's out, Joey. So now we start to create all those what-ifs in our head. And get the notepads out, the iPads, the calculators, the abacuses, whatever you got. You start thinking, well, I've only raced 7 minutes, but I used my tires really hard. I mean, we've seen not that much fall off in the tires overall. Who pits, who doesn't? I don't know. I think your leaders stay out. Maybe mid-pack is where I'd see your first pitter.
Who knew we'd kick off the strategery this early? And there you go. You've already got some takers at the back of the field. Only a couple, though. It is the large majority of the field that's elected to stay out. Tyler Graff has come down pit road. Jacob Dunn, Doyle Lawrence, Brendan Chatley, Austin Hunter, and basically everybody from 25th back. The leader on pit road, though, Jacob Dunn, coming down for service early.
So our first chance to get some pit stops in. Make sure you get everything done. Ted Lowedick completely missed his pit stall off camera, by the way. I want to point that out, and maybe we'll get a camera shot of that later. But watch this pit stop right here on the track. That is Teddy right there, I believe. But yeah, he missed his pit stop, or missed his pit stall, I should say. I had to back it up pretty far. So he'll fall down the spots, but this will be interesting to see what happens here. It's only 7 minutes of racing. It may not mean a lot right now, Joey, as far as the tire difference. 7 minutes of racing. But what may happen is if we can keep this thing green for 20, 30 minutes, or at least, maybe even 15 minutes, I think those 7 minutes of tires will begin to kind of rear their ugly heads as this run goes on.
And here is the trouble for Ted Lowendick coming into his box. It was actually a fuel-only stop for Ted. It was a fuel-only stop for Doyle Lawrence as well, but I think Ted may have decided to make it fuel-only after he backed it forward a little bit. Maybe a little bit of target fixation, as that's Dylan Schmidt, who had a little bit of trouble getting into his box as well.
Yeah, maybe just be a difference of Ted for the brakes between the two cars. And when you said, Teddy and all the drivers not in purple on the pylon on the left used to be Grand National or Xfinity car drivers. And there's a different system, different brakes, different markers, different everything as far as we needing to brake. By the way, Teddy is coming back down pit road again. I think this may be his tire stop. He may have been concerned about the what ifs of a lap down. So Ted will put new tires on and be ready to go. But here we go. So it's Regan, Knight, Ward, Evans, and Panzarella, your top 5.
An interesting mix of comers and goers, I'd say. Regan, Knight, and Ward all started essentially up front. Doug Evans did too, for that matter, but he made up quite a few spots early on. Zach Panzarella, a big mover forward. He's up 4 spots from where he started. Bradley Holly down 4 spots. But if we know anything about drivers like Bradley Holly, Jeff Evans, Abner Acosta, Derek, it is that they tend to save early. They don't tend to use up their stuff on those opening laps. They've got a strategy in their mind. They've got tire saving on the brain. And it may look like they're falling down the order, but they've got a plan for deeper in the race.
Yeah, a plan for sure. And we'll see how this goes on. Of course, these drivers had a preseason race last week, non-televised. They ran at Bristol. And I think that went about as well as anyone could think it would at Bristol with 38-40 trucks. But all these drivers got a chance to get in the truck and practice it and run some laps and see how it went. So for these drivers such as Regan, Knight, Ward, not only the fact they used to be, some of them used to be truck drivers in PRL, but they got some experience last week.
The most cautions in a PRL truck race at Kansas, 5 in 2019. We've only got 1, so I'm not going to start counting them, but just letting you know about that number. The least was 0. We've had a couple caution-free races here. Unfortunately, we will not recreate that stat, but we'll get ready to go racing here in a matter of moments. Richard Regan Jr. starting back on the front row just as he did in the initial start. Daniel Knight to his outside this time, though. It was Holly who started on the front row initially. See if Daniel Knight has anything on the outside in this restart.
Yeah, now what I'm curious about, Joey, for this restart is that bottom lane. Typically in a restart, when you're getting everything back up to speed, maybe getting some heat back in these tires after a caution lap, that bottom lane can be kind of sketch because it's just the way the banking works and how close you are to that line. It can be hard to hold onto the grip of that truck through the middle to exit of the corner on the first lap or two. So I'm curious to see how these drivers on the bottom can handle that as we're about to go green.
Richard Regan Jr. takes back control of the field. He's a 6-time winner at Kansas, going for number 7 in about 48 minutes. The restart is go, and it's a big jump from Regan this time. A big gap back to Jeff Ward, but Knight didn't get off the line very well either. Ward on the bottom, again with that shorter radius on the bottom of the track, is going to clear Knight for P2 and get back in the draft to Regan to try and chase him down the backstretch.
Yeah, beautiful jump by Regan. Everyone's down through the corner okay. And now everyone's moved up to the top for the moment. We'll see if that is the new lane or what's going to happen there. But look at this. On the outside, Daniel Knight's trying to power his way around Jeff Ward, trying to make that pass happen. And they're side by side here out of 4.
Now Richard says, where do I go? Do I give the draft to Ward? Do I give the draft to Knight? I think he gave it to a little bit of both. Regan's going to be clearing to turn 1 as Knight and Ward are side by side behind him. Look at Panzarella in the back of your shot as well, riding high. He's cleared Doug Evans, who's had a little bit of a troubled start. He's fallen all the way down to P15. Doug, who was as high as P4, has run into trouble early on this restart. And Panzarella still riding the top, looking to potentially be side by side with Jeff Ward here down the front stretch.
Look at that herd of cars on through. You see some 2. I think I saw a 3 wide. Look at this. They were 4 wide right there. That was a big mess that happened here. And at one point in this race, everyone's kind of checking up and they ended up 4 wide here on this thing. There's a 6 truck. You see the 31s involved. You see Philip Beavers up there. So you see lots of things happening here on this racetrack. There's Patrick Cowgill on the bottom trying to make a pass. So lots happening. Oh, there's Marty Calvert up there. Is that Calvert at 16?
Yeah, Marty Calvert fell to the back of the field. There's also been trouble for Abner Acosta. Didn't see what happened to him, but he is actually entirely out of the race. I'm not sure if that was an internet issue or what, but Abner Acosta, championship defender, the champion of the Grand National Series last season, a favorite for the championship this season and in the playoffs. He started this season off with some pretty bad luck. He is now blinked back into the world. He is now back on track. But he's in P35, and now we've just lost him again. Internet issues, technical issues are coming to bite one of the championship favorites.
And man, in this playoff format of rounds of 16 and 12 and so on and so forth, you really almost can't afford a moment like that. Not to steal the Kelly Clarkson line, but you can't have a moment like this. You really have to have a strong race in all 3 rounds. So, of course, it's Kansas and then Dagan next week, the jackpot, the mystery, but hopefully he can get that fixed and get back on track here. Look at this. Richard Regan doing an incredible job, by the way, Joey, of kind of playing follow the leader and sort of setting the pace, the tone, the line, if you will, for Jeff Ward, Daniel Knight, and others.
Into the wall. Tyler Graff takes a little bit of a bite out of the safer barrier. He's able to get it pointed straight. But that was quite a hit. And at a track that's so aero-dependent as this, that could hurt Tyler Graff very much. He's still going to go for the move on Thomas Sink. He'll be side by side with him down the backstretch. But he was loose into turn 1 as well. Loose a little bit into turn 3. It was just the littlest tap of the wall, Derek, but these trucks are sensitive.
And the good news for Tyler Graff is that Kansas has walls that tend to kind of bounce, right? There are some tracks, it feels like in iRacing, if you touch the wall, it sort of hugs you. It cuddles you and it slows you down a lot. Here at Kansas, these walls are like pinball bumpers. They just sort of throw you off. So the good news is it didn't really kill the speed. The bad news is that could put you right in the middle of a hornet's nest if it happens at the wrong time. But Graf seems to have recovered and be doing okay here in this race. Here's a possible pass right here. Jeff Ward trying to get up under Daniel Knight. They're side by side, and that's got to put a huge smile on the face of Richard Regan Jr.
Pulling that gap away, and honestly, it looks like this tap of the wall has made Tyler Graf faster. If anything, he was able to clear Bradley Holly. Now James Morgan and Holly going at it on the top line. Graf drives by like they don't exist up into P5. There might not be any damage at all, and if there is damage, it made him faster.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes. It's hard to say what can happen. Sometimes that just motivates you. It kind of frustrates you. You know, and you're like, oh, don't want to do that again. I need to kind of wake up. I need to pay attention and lock in here. And that may be what happened to Tyler Graf. Oh, here's
Trouble for Philip Beaver. Is this a deliberate stop for Philip Beaver? Could this be the first green flag stop of the day? It's very early for that to happen, so I'm not entirely sure. But you never know. It's been 17 minutes of racing. We've expected about a faux trouble. In the meantime, Zach Panzarella gets into the back of Daniel Knight into turn 3. An excellent save from Knight. Graf clears them both on the bottom, but that was nearly a massive wreck and an excellent save from Daniel Knight.
Now Morgan's going to try to take advantage and go through on the bottom and get around this. That was a great job by both drivers, Knight and Panzarella, by the way, because Panzarella could have drove through it. He could have just said, hey, like, sorry for the bump, and kind of pushed it further. But Panzarella lifted and let Knight kind of gather his stuff together and then get back to racing. So good job by both of them to avoid that here. Now, the problem for Daniel Knight now would be to get rid of that sort of frustration that in his head, those emotions, that anger if he has any, and get locked back into racing and not let that ruin the rest of his race.
And Bradley Holly is going to be saying thank you very much. He was going to be moving his way forward deeper in the race with the tires he was saving, but he just got 2 free positions back with Daniel Knight and James Morgan checking each other up just a little bit. Holly is back up into the top 5 now. And look at one of our biggest movers, Derek. Brendan Shatley, 20 spots up from his starting position. Started P28. He's driven his way up through almost the entirety of the field. And he's right behind a couple of his former teammates as once again Daniel Knight makes contact. This time it's with James Morgan. I don't see him on my screen. I think he's pointed straight. There he is, getting back on the racing surface, keeps it pointed in a straight line. But for the second time in 2 laps, Daniel Knight's been forced to save it, and the caution flies moments later for, I think, an unrelated incident. We may be about to see what it is now as Knight rounds turn 3.
I think I'll wait for the replay to load, Joey. I think that caution may be just for the angle that Knight rejoined the racetrack. He was sort of in T-bone position to the rest of the cars. Watch this here. Contact with Morgan. He's down to the grass, doing a great job. That is harder than it looks to save that truck like that. But watch the rejoin angle here right in front of the cars. I'm pretty sure that's the moment of caution. Oh, no, hold on.
No, that's the moment of caution further back. Stacy Hunter ended up getting turned around. I think there was another truck involved there. Didn't see who that was. Oh, there was trouble at the head of the field, ahead of Stacy Hunter. Couple trucks piling in. The 6 of Jamie Graham was involved as well, and that's what brought out the caution. Unfortunately, it wasn't Daniel Knight who brought it out after all. Trouble in the back of the field, nearly 3 wide, ends in disaster for multiple trucks.
Oh my goodness. This would have been right in front of the other incident. That this was not that far behind us. Wow. I'm not sure if these guys got nervous by seeing Knight re-enter, but no, that's just wow.
Yeah, it's Baron Hilton in the black and white truck who takes a hard hit into the wall. Stacy Hunter in the 71. Jamie Graham in the 6, broadside across the track. Everybody, or almost everybody's going to decide to bring it down pit road this time, Derek. Jacob Dunn, who pitted under the last caution, stays out. He'll assume the lead, but Richard Regan Jr., Jeff Ward, all of your assumed leaders are down pit road for their first scheduled stops of the day.
Yeah, pit stops abroad, gas, 4 tire. Maybe give yourself a sip of water out of your actual non-virtual water bottles and gather yourself up here. So now the question becomes, what have you learned? Right now, here we are, we're about 20 minutes in, a little more than 20 minutes in at this point. As a driver, what have you learned? What lines did you learn to work for your setup? How did you learn how to handle the race car? Who raced you well? Who are you happy with? Who are you not happy with? Start to process all that under caution and be ready here to see what moves you want to make in the next 40 minutes that can put you in a better spot than the first 20.
The race off pit road, it's everybody from third back. So Richard Regan Jr. got off pit road first, Jeff Ward second, Bradley Holly made up a couple of spots with a fast stop. He's up to P3, assumedly. But the three that stayed out, I don't think they're going to come down this time. Jacob Dunn, Austin Hunter, and Tama Macy have only been on these tires for about 16 laps. They all pitted under that last caution. They may get swallowed up early on this restart, but they do have track position, Derek. And it's still very early days in this race. Track position could be very important for these three off strategy.
By the way, bad news for Philip Beaver. We're still not sure what that pit stop was about that you saw under green, but this will trap him 2 laps down to the leader with this caution coming out. So this can be a long night for Philip Beaver to get that back. He tried to stay out and get the wave around, but with Dunn, Hunter, and Amasi staying out, he was unable to get that wave around. So he'll park it here, probably get some pit stop done, see what can happen here. Now, I'm confused. I mean, these are all drivers who I believe who pitted under the first yellow at lap 15. Why not take a chance and see what happens? Maybe this is a live science experiment, if you will.
You might as well.
Yeah, so there's always that idea of success in business. You have to be better than, less than, or different than your opponents. This, to me, qualifies as different than.
And these are drivers who, no offense to them, are not necessarily going to be fighting for the season-long championship or fighting for wins at most tracks this season. So if they can take a chance to go off strategy to try and pull something different, and hey, maybe we get a caution fest and they do end up out front. Jacob Dunn has not yet won in the PRL. He's fighting for a pro championship this season. Austin Hunter and Tama Macy both fighting for the AM playoff championship in the season-long championship. So this could be big points for all of them and potentially a big win for a lot of these guys. Austin Hunter has won in the PRL before. I don't believe Jacob Dunn and Tama Macy ever have. So could be a big day for either of them. And also good news for Abner Acosta fans. He has been having intermittent internet issues all day, as we reported earlier. He is back on track. He is still on the lead lap. He's just in P29 right now. So one of the favorites for the championship, Derek, still in a little bit of trouble at the back of the field.
Yeah, but good news for him. This caution will allow him to maybe look some things over, see if he can fix those technical gremlins and get it worked out. But for the front of the field right now, I think the concern for me would be if you're Regan Jr., if you're Jeff Ward, Bradley Holly, those drivers are up in the top 6. You have to be aware of what these top 3 do. Tire spin's not out of the question. Maybe a slower restart, slower through the first couple of corners without the grip. You really have to be careful passing these guys. Not that they're bad drivers, not that it's their fault or that they're being making bad moves, as much as it's just newer tires. Now it's going to be 16 lap newer tires. That is a difference on track.
Jacob Dunn has only ever led 3 laps in the PRL, and he's just led more than that under caution. He'll lead the field to green here in the second restart of the day. It's an excellent restart from Dunn for that matter. Hunter on the top, though, has the assumed race leader behind him in Richard Regan Jr. Hunter blocks him off, though. He doesn't want Regan moving forward that quickly. Hunter still riding on his bumper through turn 1 and 2. Regan is going to get to his outside, but Hunter gets a little bit loose. A little bit of an incidental slide job is going to hold Richard Regan Jr. behind these two. Where's Jeff Ward behind? Ward in the 89, fighting with Richard Regan Jr. on the same strategy, gets to his inside. Bradley Holly in the 184. It's 3 wide for the 3 drivers on new tires, maybe 4 wide as Regan turns Hunter in front of the field. Hunter up in the air. Tyler Graff's involved as well. Everybody keeps it pointed straight until one more truck on the scene gets turned around. The caution finally flies, but old tires and new tires bring each other together, Derek, and cause big trouble.
Wow, that was a sequence that will be debated, analyzed, replayed, and everything else a few times over post-race, because there's a lot of opinions there in that moment. Some people will think maybe Austin Hunter was holding up Regan. Some people will think Regan was being aggressive by going 3 wide. Watch this again here. This is going to be Regan trying to push it 3 wide where it didn't exist, and that causes that wreck. And he slowly, oh man, he did a wheelie on 2 wheels. I missed that live, Joey.
Yeah, near blowover for Austin Hunter. So unfortunate, running up front. And Tyler Graff, maybe the most unfortunate of all, did absolutely nothing wrong, totally uninvolved, and unfortunately ends up getting collected by a flying Austin Hunter. There was one other truck involved as well who came onto the scene. Didn't entirely see who that was. One of the many green trucks in the field got a little bit loose on the brakes trying to save it and pounds the wall in turn 2 as well.
Did you see, was that Nicholas Hunter up front there at the very end who kind of skidded out and hit the wall? Were both Hunters in this caution? I think that's what I saw at the front of the camera.
That may be the case. And unfortunately, remember the last caution, Derek? Remember who caused that? Stacy Hunter, unfortunately, was involved in that one. So not a good day to be named Hunter. Nicholas and Austin are related. Stacy, not technically a Hunter, but they've sort of brought him into the family in terms of racing. And unfortunately, all Hunters of the world not going to be feeling too good about the last 2 cautions. Tyler Graff brings it down pit road this time around, and Tama Macy, who was second, has also decided that this time is the time to bring that truck down pit road. He won't start in the outside of this restart. It'll be only Jacob Dunn at the head of the field on those old tires.
And that's what make it harder for Dunn to keep that lead right now. It's easier when you do this move if you have other drivers around you who are on the same strategy. Not that Austin Hunter was purposely holding up anybody, but from Jacob Dunn's view, that's a benefit when those guys battle behind him and lets him gain a lead. But when everybody behind you is on newer tires, this is going to be a much, much more difficult task right here. But wow, that was just crazy. I mean, listen, Richard Regan has his fans, he has his detractors, and I'm sure everybody will have an opinion on that caution, Joey, but I guess what you were trying to say, sort of in short form tonight, the Hunters have become the hunted.
Yes, they have, and it's going to be a tough job for Jacob Dunn to stay out front on those older tires, but I think Boris Said might be able to do it because, as they say, it's easier said than done.
Oh, wow. Ooh.
It's a new season, Derek. It's a new season.
I gotta up my game here. I forgot this is the game we're playing all night long. But yeah, so right now, if you're Jacob Dunn, though, let's just again here. This is going to be from Zachary Burnt. Watch this here, up on the top of your screen. This is where the caution's going to come out. And how does he avoid this?
That's Dylan Schmidt ahead of him, who was the truck involved. Schmidt was the driver who ended up in the safer barrier in turn 1, and Burnt. He didn't get burnt. He made it through.
Yeah. He didn't start the fire, if you will. So nice job by him. But you know, for Jacob Dunn right now, I mean, the best you could hope for in this moment, Joey, would be that honestly that those things keep happening. Not that any driver, I think, wants that kind of karma of hoping for wrecks, but every time that wreck happens and we reset this field, it sort of levels the playing field of tire wear for Jacob Dunn. But you're right, it's going to be incredibly hard for him to keep up front. He's just kind of hoping to maybe net positive this into a spot better than where he was before all these pit stops happened.
And in the race of the alternate strategy, in what we assume will become the race lead after this restart, Jeff Ward is actually your race leader now. He was able to get by Regan before that incident. Holly was able to clear Regan as well. So Richard Regan Jr. starting as deep in the field as he ever has. He's now got to get by 2 trucks who are on the same strategy as him, and Holly and Ward are on fresh tires. They're not going to be easy to pass.
And the question I have that we'll find out in a few laps time, Joey, as you said, this track is momentum based, it's aerodynamic based. Do you suppose Regan did any kind of damage to that truck being involved in an incident?
It's entirely possible. We will get a whole host of answers here in just a couple of moments, but Jacob Dunn still taking in a little bit of glory here. He will lead one more restart. Andrew Sharp has had a fantastic run through the field, a little bit of a quiet run, but you'll see him in the back of your screen here, up into the top 10 after starting deep in the order. It's been a great drive for a driver who's still fairly new to oval racing. He only moved into the truck series a couple of seasons ago, taking on the very best in the business of the trucks in the PRL. But it's Jeff Ward, another new name who cut his teeth in the Grand National Series last season, had an excellent run in the Grand National Series last season for that matter. P3 in the championship behind only Bradley Holly and Abner Acosta, 2 of the GOATs of PRL racing. Hasn't won a race though, so he'll be looking for his first win tonight. He'll have to get by Jacob Dunn to do it though. Once again, Dunn will lead the field to green on those older tires. The green flag flies again at Kansas, and it's another good jump from Jacob Dunn, clear of Jeff Ward into turn 1, and Bradley Holly, an excellent start on the bottom, is going to be side by side with Ward into turn 1. The older tires of Jacob Dunn hold up Ward on the top side of the track, and Bradley Holly blows by and takes the lead.
Great run by Holly to get that strategy played out quickly. Now there's Dunn, Dunn 3 wide. As you see now, getting past both sides. Regan on the bottom. You got Jeff Ward up top. And there's Dunn's teammate James Morgan coming up quickly. Then I see the purple and the red trucks side by side for Tabby de Rossi Esports. But unfortunately, one's going forward and one is likely headed backwards.
And Richard Regan Jr. retakes the lead as soon as he lost it into turn 1, clear of Bradley Holly by a matter of about 2 truck lengths. Fourth on the restart, got by Dunn fairly easily, and as Holly and Ward battled for the lead, Regan retakes the lead. Ward's going to retake second for that matter, as Holly seems to be going save mode yet again. He doesn't have the short run speed on this restart, and he's going to be in danger of Jacob Morgan coming up behind him.
Well, check one question off the list. We now know Richard Regan must not have picked up that much of damage or any damage from that contact as the 3 wide is unfortunately Dunn is just falling well back here. I mean, having a hard time. And now this becomes difficult for the field. Let's talk about that challenge for a second, Joey. When you have a driver that's falling back that fast, you see, it's hard to get out of their way. It's hard to make sure you don't hit them, tap them, run them over, because it feels like there's just a massive speed difference in these corners. There's Andrew Sharp, by the way. As Joey said, newer to the truck. Say it's been a year now, believe it or not. And Joey got his first win at one of the most improbable races for a first-time winner. He did it at Darlington.
That's big stuff, although you think about some drivers who excel at Darlington. You think about some drivers who came from a road course background. In the PRL, you think of Abner Acosta, who used up a lot of his tire-saving experience to win many times at Darlington. I think there might be something about that, something about the precision of road course driving that definitely applies to Darlington.
Yeah, it's a great job by him. It's had a really a fun blast racing this car. It speaks highly of them, looks forward to it. You see he's having a good time here with that big, massive triple monitor setup he has in his room there. With that big IMSA seat, look at that. That seat's about 4 times the size of Andrew Sharp. I think you could fit 2 Andrew Sharps in one seat right there.
Yeah, he's practically swimming in it, and he knows the camera's on him, as everybody does. Good to see a lot of our drivers' faces for the first time this season. Andrew always gives us the camera. There's a little bit of trouble in front of him. Mark Kalin clips the apron into turn 1, gets all sorts of loose, all sorts of slow, and Sharp says, I am not going with you, Mark. I'm going to ride up top, hop in the draft to Thomas Sink, and try and ride that train of momentum around his outside.
Move him back here out of the corner. You see this big battle up front. Look at the different lanes being run, Joey. 1, 2, 3. The guys have 4 different lanes being run there. So this really is a driver's track. A lot of drivers love this track. If you're not bound to a lane, maybe like you are at Bristol last week or Darlington, for example, you can kind of make this track what you want it to be. And every decision has a pro and con. There's really no, I mean, sure there is a right answer, but there's multiple right answers in this moment.
Sharp clearing Thomas Sink nearly off turn 4. He's not quite able to do it, and he's all on his lonesome on that bottom line as he tries to join up with one of these lines and take a little bit of the draft to build up that momentum. Look at P6, though. Brett Adams has made his way back up through the field. It looked like it was a Zach Panzarella day developing. He was so far ahead of any of his fellow AM drivers for so long today. But Brett Adams, the defending Truck Series champion, started a little bit deeper in the field and has quietly moved his way forward over the course of today, and he can see his main AM championship rival directly ahead as there's trouble in the back. That's the 17, I believe, involved. Now the 17's okay. I think that was the 16 actually getting turned around, and at the halfway point in the race, another caution flies.
Another caution flies. This is 3. You said, I think, Joey, the number is 5 was the highest ever.
Yes.
So we're now let's give some fairness to that number. That number was not based on a 60-minute race.
Yes,
so
that was probably a 40-minute race if I had to guess. It was Marty Calvert who got turned around, by the way. It was the 16, the 9 of Doyle Lawrence behind him. And yet again, Derek, this D-shaped oval, 2 trucks kind of meeting in the middle, ends in disaster.
Yeah, that is our second or maybe our third not clear moment of the night. I mean, look at this. Marty Calvert's coming up the track here, and I don't know. I mean, Doyle Lawrence moves a little, but not enough, I don't think. That's, I don't know. I'd have to see it again, but unfortunately, Marty Calvert's turned around backwards on the track here in this moment on the track. Well, now, So we're more than 30 minutes in. Of course, we know Jacob Dunn's going to come get tires, or at least we hope he does after how far he fell down the field there. But it's only been not that many laps, what, 10 laps or so, maybe 15 since everyone took tires. I'm curious what happens here. Let's see who does what here on pit road.
And we've heard it's about 45 to 50 laps in terms of fuel window. If we restart with about 22 laps to go, that's gonna be just north of 40 laps. And I think just about everybody in the field, literally everybody in the field except for Richard Regan Jr. and Brendan Chatley, have decided to bring it down pit road. Is this the correct move now? Has Regan been caught off guard by the rest of the field? Or does he have some kind of galaxy brain strategy in mind now?
Yeah, he might just think track position is king, which may be a thought that a lot of people have, where you just want to be up front, you want to be out of the ruckus, out of the mess, and let things happen. The good news for him is that someone did it with him. With Brandon Chatley out there with him doing the same strategy, it'll kind of provide a little bit of that stopgap to the field full of new tires. But now it's Richard Regan, I guess, in what we're going to call the Jacob Dunn position.
And he's got a couple of others with much older tires who also didn't pit under the last caution. But we've seen on some previous restarts tonight, Derek, that drivers on old tires and drivers on new tires, there's a big speed difference at this track. So maybe we haven't seen the last caution. We might be about to see some more fireworks here in a couple of moments.
Yeah, who knows right now what may happen in the last 22, probably about 20 minutes once we go green here. So right now, if you're a driver who was concerned about the 60 minutes, we've sort of broken it up pretty evenly for you with these yellow flags, and we'll see how that goes. It's probably just still a longer race than any of these drivers are used to in the trucks or Grand National races here in the PRL. Well, Joey, if you're having fun tonight, which I know you and I both are, we're not done with PRL this week here on RaceSpot. Tomorrow night you can tune in and you can find what you and I used to call Prototype Night.
Rocket ship night?
That's right. Tomorrow night is the rocket ships. So that'll be tomorrow night. You can see that here live on RaceSpot. Same time as us, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, or whatever fits your time zone. So
if I'm not mistaken, slightly different this season. GTP, GT3, the new combination.
No,
very exciting.
Yeah, and rumor has it, I believe, and I don't know how the PRL is doing, and I probably should look before I announce this, but I know this week in officials, it's been raining at the end of the track. So
I love it.
Bring your umbrellas, bring your ponchos. I don't know, what else do you bring to a wet race?
I don't know. I haven't been to one for a while. Maybe some grocery bags to like tie around your shoes.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe like one of those rubber ducky flotation devices.
Bring one of those powdered Gatorade little things in the little packets. Fill up a cup with some rainwater.
Yeah.
But
probably a new change of clothes.
Yeah, that's absolutely important. Don't want to get trench foot or trench any body part for that matter. But we are ready to go racing here in just a matter of moments. Lining up 2 by 2 is the field behind the iRacing truck, the iRacing Pace truck, which we see this season for the first time in a little while. Should mention, by the way, 3 sets is the tire limit for this series this season. You only get 3 sets in the pits for a 60-minute race. And I haven't been counting, Derek, but I'm pretty sure the majority of the field now with that last pit cycle has gone through 2 sets now.
Yeah, so that's going to be 3 sets extra, just to be clear. It's not, so it's 1 plus 3. It's the one you start on plus 3. I would think everybody, probably most part has 1 set left. I'd have to really stare into that for a while to figure it out, but that may come into play. I mean, luckily for them, they all have a set left, but I don't know what will happen here. But right now, Richard Regan's going to lead around Chatley, Massey, and Jamie Graham. 3 of the 4 top starters are AM drivers, former Truck Series drivers.
And it's a familiar position for Richard. Started this race on pole, led the first few restarts, and now he'll return to the point. The iRacing Pace truck brings it down pit road, and Richard Regan Jr. retakes control of the field. We are green again at Kansas, and it's another big jump from the pole sitter. A huge jump from Regan as he clears Chatley. There was trouble in the back. Somebody immediately in the wall at the back of the field. Didn't see who that was, but there's a big checkup on the bottom as Chatley and Tom Macy both slow on those old tires. Doyle Lawrence a lap truck as well, blocking the top line. Zach Panzarella's not able to make his way through there. And look at the 17 of Daniel Knight. He finds some clean air through the middle of the road, side by side with Jeff Ward, and now 3 wide as they get by Tom Macy.
Wow, Panzarella had to show a lot of patience there, by the way, behind Brandon Chatley. Hold on, wrecking. Big wreck.
23 of Brett Adams goes around. The lap truck of Doyle Lawrence goes 720 through the grass, and it's a massive wreck as the caution flies once more. They're still piling in. I think as they were checking up for the caution, 2 more trucks ended up in the wall in the front stretch. But big drama again, Derek. Differences in closing speeds. Drivers who weren't clear. I don't know how Jeff Ward was able to save that, but a lot of other drivers were not so lucky.
Oh, that was really sort of ironic timing. As I said the word patience, it all just sort of really popped off right there and just kind of happened. And then out of nowhere, lots of trucks.
Is this caution number 4 now?
This is 4. We are getting ever so closer to that 5 number.
Oh dear. Might be a record-breaking start to the season.
Yeah, this is the Joey Tebben curse right here, because you're the one who brought it up and said, hey, I mean, now look at that. Look at these cars. Now, some of these cars coming down pit road are going to be because of the wreck and getting damage fixed. But if you look at that, Knight and others, now not Chatley, he didn't pit last time. These guys may be using their last set of tires, but I'm guessing this right here is all because of the damage.
Yeah, Knight, Kalen, Graham, Burnt, Sink, and a few others. We are now with 18 minutes left in the race. That's about 36 laps of green flag running, so you can definitely make it to the end on fuel now. That's absolutely not a worry. But honestly, for Regan and Chatley, it might be. You take that I just said, though, and balance it with the fact that we haven't gone very far in terms of green flag running this race. You might be able to assume there's going to be another caution. So do Regan and Chatley elect to bring it down, or do they just assume and hope there will be another caution? And they'll get their fuel from there. But let's see what happened to bring out this caution. Knight and Ward came together at the head of the field, and then a couple of cars back, a couple of trucks back, Panzarella and Adams ended up coming together, and that was the actual trigger of the caution further back.
There were multiple kickoff points sort of happening at once. I think our eyes focused on different things at the same time. I saw Panzarella getting loose and kind of coming down as you were seeing other things. So that just shows you how fast these cautions can happen, where unrelated incidents can happen together to really create track blockages, calamity, and danger spots for the field. Well, right now, watch this again. This is what I saw. That's Panzarella up top. And he's going to get pointed down as through 3 and 4 right here. You see he's right now behind Chatley. That's what I saw first, right there. Yeah, was that Brett Adams, I believe, he turned around.
Yeah, Panzarella got loose. Adams turned around. Thomas Sink was immediately involved. You saw another truck getting turned across the front stretch there. Jamie Graham, I believe, involved as well. Zachary Burnt got some damage from that. You see Panzarella coming back up the track into Stacy Hunter, I think, unfortunately got a bite out of that as well. A few laps down already. His night gets even worse. But you see at the front of the field that huge loose moment for Ward. And then behind him, lots and lots of trouble. Ted Lowendick made it through trouble-free, so we may want to see the onboard of that. But also, Bradley Holly, lucky driver move of that caution right there. But luckily, somehow, Brett Adams just sort of stopped spinning, and he came probably within, what, an inch or two at Bradley Holly, and then the truck just sort of stopped, and Holly drove on by. This will be Ted Lowendick's onboard here with that Gummy Clusters paint scheme. Watch this here, Joey. I think I got it. There it is. Hold on, we're not done. Sees one more with Jamie Graham getting turned across the field. He avoided the cluster, ironically enough, and maybe it's like a magnet on the front of his hood. It's like a reverse magnet. He'll avoid any clusters with that.
Watch this. This will be Bradley Hollis. What I saw. Watch this here. As you see, there's Brett Adams at 23 on the inside, following around here. Another daily driver car in front of him. That's going to be Panzarella. Holly moves up top. Now watch this here. You may not see it from this camera angle. That's how close
yes, you can.
By the way,
that's 2 wrecks in the space of 1.
Yeah.
It's not luck when you're Bradley Holly at that point. He's got so much experience in this truck, racing on ovals in the PRL. He's got more wins at Kansas than any other driver in the field. And that is just maybe a little bit of experience adding up to being a little bit of luck. But we are ready to go racing once more. The clock ticks down to below 15 minutes. This race has flown by, and we're not too far away from crowning our first winner of the season. Richard Regan Jr. will be in control of the field once more, but we'll have another new side character to his outside in Brendan Chatley, who's had an excellent drive forward through the field of his own. Started 28th on the grid, avoided all the drama, avoided all the trouble, didn't make a pit stop under the last caution, and he'll now restart ahead of all of his AM championship rivals. But at the head of the field, it'll be Richard Regan Jr. having deja vu and taking the green flag once more at Kansas. Look for Jeff Ward on the bottom to be able to get a bigger jump than Bradley Holly. Holly's got a friend and teammate in Chatley up top, but he doesn't have a car with new tires, and the truck does move up to the top. Holly moves down to the bottom. It's one by one by one by one as the new tire runners swallow up Brendan Chatley.
Wow, look at that. Chatley's a sort of an inevitable spot is being swallowed up by the line here. Look at that's James Morgan back there in that 12 machine having a great night as well, trying to run down Bradley Holly. There's F very top where Grandma keeps the cookies up there, Joey Tabin, is ready to solve Jeff Ward.
And he's got a huge run for Ward. I feel like this is the closest anybody's got to the back of Richard Regan Jr. in green flag running. And remember, Ward is on 16 lap fresher tires than Regan. He's got pace, he's got momentum, and he's got rubber to make this happen. Patrick Cowgill in trouble a little bit deeper in the field. He keeps it pointed straight but falls down the order. And the battle for the race lead, Regan on the bottom, Ward on the high top, gets another great run down the front stretch. Regan blocks it down to the apron though. Ward is going to have to do it the long way around. It's been the tough way around, but he's going to try again into turn one.
Well, Ward, I think, needs, honestly, down the back straight, he needs Bradley Holly to get behind him and provide the arrow push, but Holly sticks to the bottom. He'll now be almost side by side with Ward, and if that happens, there it is.
Here comes Jeff rather. Jeff Ward to the bottom of the track. Shorter radius, shorter run, fresher rubber. If he can get clear of Regan, he can by just a bumper. Regan's going to get down to the bottom, though. The door was open, and Regan on the bottom might get a shot to retake the lead into turn one.
And this side-by-side battle is doing favors for Bradley Holly, doing favors for James Morgan, even Andrew Sharp, because the more they race side-by-side, Joey, they're letting this field catch up to them. And right now, it's becoming a live race. Here's Bradley Holly with the onboard. You see him very stoic, very focused. On the top side now, kind of half pushing Jeff Ward through. And that's what they need to do to get on Regan's kind of team up here. And there it is, side-by-side at the line. That would have been Jeff Ward if that was the last lap, I'm pretty sure.
We have seen photo finishes at Kansas many times, so that could very well be the way this race is decided. Regan, though, on the bottom this time, gets pinched a little bit too much, and this may be the start of the fall. 19 lap older tires for Regan. He was able to put up a triumphant fight. He was able to fight back to take the lead, but I think it may be too big of an ask to hold on now. James Morgan's going to blow by him around the outside. He'll hope to hang on for maybe a top 10, but it's now a Jeff Ward, Bradley Holly, James Morgan fight for this race win.
Yeah, here comes Morgan in here. Morgan came into PRL about a year ago, had an incredible season a couple seasons ago, and then season 3 just wasn't his run. So he wants to get back into that prominence discussion here. And top 3 at Kansas is the way to do it. But here's a pass for lead. Bradley Holly now around Jeff Ward, way to the bottom, almost on the white line, Joey Tabin, and he has made that work.
Bradley Holly, not just an experienced driver in the PRL, but a very, very heavily winning driver in the PRL. He's got more wins than anybody else. Jeff Ward has never won in the PRL, and he's taken on literally the best in oval racing in the PRL and making a big effort of it. Down the back stretch, Ward's clear yet again. Holly slots in line in the one single truck length between Ward and Morgan to get back in the draft and get back in line.
That kind of killed the momentum for James Morgan right there. You saw Morgan lift a little bit here to make sure he did not run in the back of Holly. You see how he's kind of fallen back off the run here, just a tad. So now this University of Kentucky truck at the front of the field in front of the Miracle Flow machine. About 10 minutes left here, Joey. So time is quickly, tick-tock, expiring off the clock.
And there goes Holly. ripping the white line, maybe a little bit too low, got a little bit loose, and that has scuppered his momentum yet again. Richard Regan Jr. very close to the wall on the back of your screen as Andrew Sharp is going to be the next driver to swallow him up. Look at Dustin Bumgarner as well in the 35. Haven't mentioned him much tonight, but he's had a quiet run forward, up 14 spots, and he's going to be one of those underdog drivers fighting for the Pro Championship in the playoffs and in the overall season. Taps the wall on entry to turn 3, but it's still been a great run for Bumgarner.
A great run indeed, but I don't want to go without stating again, that was so darn close for Bradley Holly when he touched that white line. You saw that truck sort of snap at an angle, and that's what killed that run to let Morgan, get around him. But that was a scary, scary moment. And if it was scary for us, I bet it was even scarier for Bradley Holly.
And unfortunately, 2 taps to the wall for Bumgarner are going to scupper his momentum. He'll have Dalton Geyer on the attack. Dalton Geyer, a driver who started in the PRL in a truck, spent a lot of his time racing in this machinery, but ended up switching to the Xfinity Series after a couple seasons back here. Jeff Ward retakes the lead as Morgan's slow. Got a little bit loose off of turn 4, and as he led for a millisecond, he'll almost fall out of contention here as Ward and Holly swallow them both up, and Andrew Sharp is going to be on the attack for 3rd.
Yeah, Andrew way to the bottom, doing a great job here in that multicolored machine now. He's going to try to slot in behind Morgan, see what he can make happen. Morgan has 1 PRL Oval win in his PRL career. So he's been to Victory Lane before, but it's been a long time. Would love to get back there and make it happen again. As you said, Jeff Ward, not a winner. Bradley Holly, the most wins. Morgan has 1, Sharp has 1. Regan, of course, has a lot of wins. So there's a lot of experience in this top 5.
And this is important for Andrew Sharp in the AM Championship. You score points in the AM Championship based on where you finish in the overall standings. So if Andrew Sharp finishes 4th, he gets 4th place points, not 1st place points. Kyle Dewey, who's currently in 2nd in the AM Championship, if he finishes 10th, he gets 10th place points. So Andrew Sharp actually gets 6 positions worth of points over his closest competitor. And that's why it's going to be important all season long to race every driver like you're racing anybody else. Every position is going to matter in both championships, for that matter.
Yeah, the way to win this thing, in my opinion, Joey, no matter if you're pro, if you're AM, whatever, come out here and race the darn thing. Let pro and AM work itself out post-race. Don't worry about it. Don't care who is what. Go out there and race and do your best, and everything will sort of math its way out. If you start thinking about, oh, like, that guy's pro, that guy's AM, I don't need to pass him or whatever, you're probably going to not be in the right frame of mind for this race, in my opinion. You just got to go out there and just, as far as I'm concerned, as a driver, there's one race. It's right here, with all due respect. It's Holly, it's Ward, and then everything else can just be a post-race problem.
And this is still the race for the win. Ward is at a couple of comfortable laps. Holly just riding in line, riding in the draft. But it's Bradley Holly. Has he been saving something? Has he been cooking something up to try and surprise Jeff Ward as we cross the line? 6 minutes 30 to go, about 15 laps or so. Holly's trying to cook something up, and he is going to peek a nose to the inside through turn 2. Can't get the run to make it happen just yet, though.
Here's the challenge for Holly. Make the move when it works. If you make a move and you stick side by side, Morgan, Sharp, and Regan will be back in the camera shot in no time at all. Here he goes to the bottom. The moment these guys get side by side, they're going to slow each other up, and that field will be back there again. But, oh, man, look at that. Holly way off pace here, and now Ward has a massive lead here up to P1.
Big loose moment off of 4. Was that a race-defining mistake from Bradley Holly? He doesn't make them often. He's able to hold James Morgan off. He hasn't lost second, but he's got a lot of work to do now. 0.5 of a second, half a second, that is still within draft range. He can make that back up, but that's a huge margin, and he's got to be careful now because Morgan, he saw him make that one mistake. At a track like this, it's easy for those to stack up and get in the endless cycle of getting loose off of turn 4 every lap.
In a weird way, I think Holly and Morgan have to become teammates here, Joey. They need to work together. They need to draft down the back straight, give it a little bit of push, go catch Jeff Ward, and then become enemies, then become competitors, if you will, in that moment. By the way, we have not really made that many Kansas references tonight, Joey, surprisingly for us as music nerds, but we are at the point of no return.
Yes, we are, and Daniel Knight may have been turned into dust in the wind here, side by side with Marty Calvert near the back of the field. Both of these guys have run into trouble over the course of the night. Knight on the outside, Calvert on the inside. Looks like no trouble just yet. I think they were okay after all, Derek. Maybe that's just a how do you do for two drivers who have had some bad luck tonight. They're both still going, and they're both back to racing on 16th and 17th. But back up front, Bradley Holly has made up a little bit of that margin. I mentioned he was still within draft range, and he's got about a tenth and a half closer over the last couple of laps. He's got about 3 truck lengths between him and Jeff Ward now to make up, and only 4.5 minutes to do it.
Yeah, Bradley's likely going to get one more shot at this when he gets up to Jeff Ward. So if he has to make it work correctly. If he has that moment of looseness again, it's over as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he gets 2 shots at this. So don't be reckless. You know, don't be a menace, or, well, hey, don't be known as a desperado if you're Bradley Holly.
33 of Kyle Dewey. Haven't mentioned him much tonight, Derek. I mentioned the fact that he is second in the AM championship right now, or second in the AM running in this race right now, but he's had a phenomenal drive. I mentioned these big numbers, up 20 spots, up 28 spots. Kyle Dewey is up 20 spots. That's how remarkable that is. And in a race where we've seen 4 cautions, having a quiet and unremarkable day may have been the best thing to do here. And Kyle Dewey may get a top 10 for his efforts. Marty Calvert's still going at it. This time it's with a different Knight. It's with Mike Knight side by side into turn 3. Calvert, though, clear up the top of the road, pulls the slide job off, and takes P15 away.
And hey, that's a great job for Marty Calvert to be back in this race. Remember, we saw him about, what, a half hour ago, and he was faced the wrong way after a caution. So you can really say Marty Calvert's done a great job of playing the game tonight.
3 minutes to go. That's going to be under 6 laps to go now. I think it might be 5 laps to go at the line. And Richard Regan Jr., his fall it's been cauterized, I think. The bleeding has stopped a little bit. Dustin Bumgarner has now got by him. Dalton Geyer, though, is right behind. Ted Lowendick is right behind. And that may be the lowest Richard Regan Jr. ends up. For a driver who's on 19 lap older tires than anybody else in the field, falling to maybe P8 or P9, it could have gone far worse for Regan tonight.
Yeah, at this point, probably the tires have plateaued to a certain extent, right? The fall off of tires is just probably about equal at this point. So Regan, with his skills and how well he can drive that truck around this track, is probably just said, maybe not safe. I mean, right now, oh, hold on, maybe he is. So I say Geyer and Lowendick are experienced drivers, but you're right, Regan may be safe there in P6. And hey, while for Richard Regan, P6 may not be what he wanted, in a field of 38, 6 is still a pretty solid night.
And in a field of 38, P8 is going to be exactly what Ted Lowendick wanted. He's a driver who had little to no experience in this truck. He had no experience in the truck in the PRL. He only turned on to oval racing a couple of years ago to race in the Grand National Series in NASCAR Xfinity machinery a couple of seasons ago. Eventually figured out oval racing, and now he's going to try to apply that to these trucks all season long. And he gets to the inside of Dalton Geyer. This is what Regan wants to see. He wants to see him going at it for P7, and they're still going to be side by side down the back stretch. This is also a fight for playoff points. Both Geyer and Lowendick fighting for the playoff championship, and both of those guys may need a big points haul here to advance on from this initial round.
Right now, as we wrap up the final minute of this race, everyone's kind of settling in for what they can get anything left. Lowendick is trying his best to make that pass happen right there. But here's up front, this is Richard Regan. Now, he is trying to make a pass on Dustin Bumgarner. This would put him back in the top 5, is able to do it. We'll see if this works out here. But with 50 seconds left, Jeff Ward is still maintaining a pretty comfortable lead up front.
Yeah, Holly's not been able to make that gap back up. This is the closest battle in the top 10. Geyer and Lowendick going to keep going at it for P7 for the rest of the night, but Ward has taken 2 laps to go up front. It'll be white flag this time by, and maybe an insurmountable gap back to Bradley Holly. It's grown and grown and grown as Dewey and Lowendick, or Geyer and Lowendick rather, continue side by side. Geyer's going to hold on to that position. And we take a look up front to Jeff Ward. It was a triumvirate up front in this race, Derek. It was Ward versus Holly versus Regan. Strategy hasn't gone Regan's way, and Jeff Ward has had to duel off the all-time great of the PRL, Bradley Holly, and he's only got 1 more lap before his first win.
Only 1 less lap one stress point left in this race for Jeff Ward. It's that truck ahead of him. Making sure this all goes well. If you're going to lap him, pass it cleanly. If I was Jeff Ward, I'd probably just, hey, go on. I'm not going to pass you. I'll just claim my win.
Through turn 4 for the final time. It's a first-time winner in the first race of the season. Jeff Ward wins at Kansas and kicks off his season in the best possible way. Bradley Holly, the 105-time winner, comes home second to a rookie. And in P4, coming home first in the AM standings, first in the AM race, Andrew Sharp with a P4 is going to get a big points cushion over everybody else in the AM championship. Kyle Dewey and Nicholas Schwartz, 11th and 12th. Those are second and third in the AM standings in this race. So a big day for Andrew Sharp, but no bigger day for anybody but Jeff Ward, Derek. A first win in the PRL, and he had to fight for it all day long.
And if you're going to beat some drivers to get your first win, Holly, Regan, Sharp, yeah, that's a resume builder right there, Joey Tubbin.
And he gets to celebrate with his first ever PRL Donuts. A new team, as you mentioned, Derek, Bluegrass Motorsports, kind of by necessity. There was a need to split up some of the bigger teams who had a few too many drivers. Jeff Ward and Mark Kalin teaming up this season, and this is the best possible way to start the life of a new team.
Yeah, great for them. Jeff Ward came in last season, had the University of Kentucky paint scheme. Mark Kalin also had the University of Kentucky paint scheme, and it was just sort of like a match made in Wildcat heaven.
And as Ward continues to celebrate, race results are official. And Jeff Ward takes his first win in the PRL ahead of the all-time wins leader Bradley Holly. James Morgan, an excellent run for his own right as well, a top 3 to kick off the season. Andrew Sharp, P4 overall, but he wins the AM race, and Dustin Bumgarner rounds out the top 5. Richard Regan Jr., an up-and-down day. He'll be happy with P6 to at least get some good points. Dalton Geyer, Ted Lowendick, 2 big movers in the field, ahead of Jeff Evans and Colton Lane, 2 Whataback drivers rounding out the top 10, Derek.
Moving back into P11, Kyle Dewey and Nicholas Schwartz. You see the purple labels, that means they're AM drivers. Doug Evans, Mike Knight, and Jacob Dunn up through 15th. Then Marty Calvert, Daniel Knight, Alex Hillman, Thomas Sink, and Brandon Chatley round out your top 20.
Tama Macy, also an up-and-down day for him. Had a couple of moments up front. He'll end with a P21. Mark Kalin, not the day he wanted. Back down to P22 at the end of it all. And then a lot of AM drivers down to the end of the lead lap. Schmidt, Adams, Cowgill, and Hunter. Adams and Cowgill, 2 of the top seeds in the playoffs, going to be in a little bit of trouble with a bad start. Hunter ended up 3 laps down. Nicholas Hunter, I should specify. Dr. Philip Beaver got back out on track but ended 5 laps down. Jamie Graham and Stacy Hunter, 6 laps down and 7 laps down respectively. And then the used truck lot ends it all. Tyler Graff had a great run going. Unfortunately, his day ended with 10 minutes of repair. Mike Toomer got out on track a little bit late, but 26 laps down was the end of his day. And then Burnt, Panzarella, Lawrence, Acosta, Hilton, and Richter rounded out the used truck lot, all multiple laps down with damage or other assorted issues, as Abner Acosta, I believe, ran into some internet troubles. But we do have a first-time winner in the PRL ready to talk to us, and I imagine he's the very happiest driver in the PRL. Jeff Ward, your first race of the season, first race of the playoffs, and your first win over Bradley Holly. How good does that feel?
Man, it feels good. Kansas has always been kind of tricky for me running up by the wall. Was able to do it once we got up by the wall. The truck just took off, and I thought we'd eat up a lot more tires, but man, it was pretty good there. Was able to gap Bradley by a little bit. He definitely brought the pressure for a long time, and this feels awesome, man. First race of the season. What a heck of a way to kick it off here.
Well, tonight, in a straight duel with 2 of the best ever in the PRL, and Bradley Holly and Richard Regan Jr., you came out on top. Does that give you confidence for the rest of the season that you can take it to them and maybe win this whole thing?
Hey, we're going to give it a shot. Like you said, it's 2 of the best, and them guys ain't going to go away this season, that's for sure. Richard was strong all night. He just kind of got off sequence there on pit stops, and if not for that, I think it would have been a battle down to the wire between me, him, and Bradley there. But yeah, man, we'll keep digging. We'll try to put in a lot of work this season and go for this playoffs and this championship. And we brought Mark Kalin on the team for Bluegrass Motorsports, so I think he got in a little trouble there. But yeah, man, just really looking forward to this season and a way to get the ball rolling here.
Congrats on your first win, Jeff. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Jeff Ward, first-time winner in the PRL. We always love to see that. Coming home second, Derek. Bradley Holly, unfortunately, couldn't add to his win total tonight. He comes home second.
Well, the all-time winningest driver in PRL came within one spot of doing it tonight. Bradley, look like you were having fun out there for a while and just kind of fell off at the end.
Yeah, there was a couple of ridiculous moments that I wasn't happy to see, but all in all, like once we got going green on that last green flag run, it was fun. Made a mistake and let Jeff by trying to save tire, and ended up costing me more than I wanted it to.
Well, so tonight, the first, I guess, official points-paying race for this combined league. Last week, you guys did it at Bristol. Next week, I think maybe the most chaotic we're going to have all season. Talladega, what's the expectation here?
I don't know, man. It's if we're going to have 40 cars or 40 trucks, it's going to be interesting, especially with how we saw some bumps tonight go. We'll have to see. I'm going to assume we're going to see how it's going to go in practice next week, and hopefully we can survive, but, you know, I'm not going to hold my breath on it.
Listen, it's been a few weeks since we've seen you live on cam. What's new in the room? Do you have any new Legos you want to talk about? That's right, Lego. There's no plural. Do you have any new Lego you want to talk about?
No. I've had to step back on Legos a little bit because money's getting tight. So there's a few I have my eye on that I'm working on saving up money for. So hopefully by Christmas I'll have some new Legos to build, and I'll have some fun with that.
All right. Well, listen, great run tonight, and we'll see you in 1 week at Talladega.
Thank you very much.
All right, there you go, Joey. That's almost a speechless Bradley Holly.
And rounding out the top three, James Morgan came home third. Tabula Rasa driver, kicking off the season fairly well. But what more did you need in that final run there to stay in touch with Ward and Holly?
I went for the lead at one point in turns 3 and 4, and I think I absolutely destroyed my right front tire, and that kind of put me back and set me back. I was expecting to have a little bit more grip than I did when I went to the bottom to the lead, and it just got super tight. So I think that really overcooked my right front, and then kind of just lost touch with them just a little bit after that.
But a top three to kick off the season. I'm sure you're pretty satisfied with that. Congrats, James, and we'll see you at Talladega next week.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
James Morgan coming home P3 and coming home P4 on track, but P1 in the AM Championship. Andrew Sharp kicking off the season with a fourth place on track, which I'm sure you were happy enough with, but technically it's a win as well in the AM Championship. How good does that feel to start the season off on a high?
Yeah, it's great. We'll count it as a win. It was a lot of fun, especially that last little run there where I was able to actually catch up to the big boys. So great racing in terms of making up from where I qualified, and just a lot of fun racing with them.
Now, your championship hopes. You've got the playoff championship in the AM division. You've got the season championship in the AM division as well. You got your win at Darlington last season. How much confidence does this give you for the next 8 weeks?
Hey, we're peaking at the right time. I'm feeling good. I've given up on road for this season. I'm only doing oval. Like this is where it's at. So I'm locking in.
The conversion has begun. Andrew's doing all road. Ted Lowendick's doing all road. It's a big move. Congrats on the win, Andrew, and we'll see you at Talladega next week.
Sounds good. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Andrew Sharp getting the first AM win, the first ever AM win in a PRL Oval Series. How about that for an accomplishment? But right behind him, a quiet day for Kyle Dewey, up 19 spots. He'll talk to Derek Watson after finishing second.
Kyle, I think Joey said the most impressive stat. I mean, obviously you finished P2 in the AM portion of this race, but up 19 spots. How do you do that at Kansas?
Well, it was a battle for sure. I was very, very lucky in not getting up and caught in a lot of those accidents back there. It was barely by inches, and I even had a penalty in the pits I had to overcome too. But it was just a lot of patience. I know going in there was going to be some crashes going on, so I just didn't want to be aggressive, and I knew that I'd be able to finish high if I was able to survive.
Well, survive you did. But speaking of survival, next week is the ultimate survival game, Talladega. Do you think you want to get up there and race all night long? Do you want to sit in the back and let it happen? Or is that going to have to see how you feel it out as the race goes on?
It's definitely something you want to fill out. Staying in the back, sometimes there's crashes back there, but also there's crashes in the front. So hopefully me and Sharp, my teammate, will come up with a good plan, and hopefully we'll be able to survive that one too and get another good 1-2 finish for us.
All right, well, listen, congrats to both of you for Battle Bus Racing, and we'll see you in 1 week's time.
Great, thank you.
All right, Joey, that's the number 33 driver of Kyle Dewey, and we're going to round this out with Nicholas Schwartz and bring him in. Nick, what a crazy race tonight for you in that 171 machine. Talk to us how you brought that waterback truck home where you did up in P6.
I just try to be conservative. I think I was probably a little too conservative throughout the race. I was really just trying to save my tires. We had so many cautions that didn't really matter. But yeah, really, I came into the race just trying to not get a caution point. Like, I'm mostly a road guy, so this is a new arena for me. But just got lucky with cautions and had a really fun battle with Doug Evans at the end.
Nice run for you tonight. Next week at Dega, are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you somewhere in between? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, I did pretty well on the iRacing Daytona 500, so if I have a shot at all this year, it's going to be next week. Having such a big team with Waterback, we're going to have some good strategy, I'm sure, and we'll see what happens. I might wreck lap 1, but who knows?
Oh, who knows? That's why we do it. Well, listen, Nick, great run tonight, and we'll see you next week. All right, well, that wraps up the interviews, Joey, and what an exciting, crazy, and chaotic night it was here at Kansas.
And as if it wasn't exciting, crazy, and chaotic enough, how about we go to Talladega next week, the second race of the season, the second race of the round of 16, and a track that we always like to say, Derek, it's a place where anybody can win. Any wild card could come through here. You don't know. You can't predict what's going to happen at Talladega.
That's why we do it. You never know. You just need basically a steering wheel and 4 wheels, and you have a shot at Talladega. Well, congrats to our race winners tonight, Joey. I had fun. It's been fun being paired back with you for what this is going to be our season 4 of PRL. And man, congrats again to Jeff Ward.
Jeff Ward coming home with the pro win. Andrew Sharp coming home with the AM win. Thank you for joining us on RaceSpotTV tonight. There will be more PRL action tomorrow night with the GTP GT3 series here on RaceSpotTV. We hope you'll join us next week for more Precision Racing League action. Same time, same place at Talladega. Until then, I've been Joey Tebbin. Derek Watson's been Derek Watson. Hugo Luis has been our producer. And until we see you next time, so long.